up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Happy Monday. Hope your weekend was good. Hope you didn't miss me too bad. For the Friday episode, nothing much materialized. Been a long couple of weeks. Busy, tired. So, yeah, typical when you get a wet winter. It's a lot of extra work, it seems like. And so anyhow, been trying to get all the Elko stuff lined up, and I think I'm about as ready as I'll ever be. I think so. If you haven't yet, and I know you haven't because I haven't been getting any bites, but we got a bit that we're raffling off. Yeah, I got it right here. We got a bit from Ryan Erickson that we'll be raffling off. Proceeds will go to help pay these artists, as well as a nice headstall from Nolan Booth over at Buck and Wild Leather down there in Tejas. And Ryan's out in New Mexico, so I know it's the Great Basin and all out here, but we're kind of bringing some puncher style to Elko. But anyways, you don't have to be at Elko to win it. It's don't have to be present, but we'll draw the winner Saturday night for both of those, and we also got some spur straps from Adam Drake. I'll post some pictures of those later later on this week, but it's $20 to enter for the bit, or you can get 6 spots for $100. $5 to enter for the headstall, or you can get 6 for $25. I'll probably do the same on the spur straps. $5 to enter, 6 for $25. So anyways, it's just kind of help pay these guys a little bit more than I can give them at the moment, and make sure it's a good show. Like it's they're getting paid no matter, but this is all just kind of bonus to help people keep coming back every year, because it's a it's a really fun show, and now that the world, as crazy as the world is, it seems like it's kind of getting back to some sort of routine where we're not. Like we're out doing stuff again, so that's nice. I enjoy that part of things. So that being said, it's gonna be a big I would expect a pretty big audience just for the the amount of people that'll be in Elko this coming weekend. So if you're there, please come out and see us. It's a $15 cover at the stage door, 7 to 9 p.m. Friday and Saturday night. That's the 3rd and the 4th. I forget the address of stage door, but I'll post all the details. Throughout the week, you'll be hearing a lot about it. So, sue me. We gotta try to promote it. Try to go big. Go big or go home. So anyways, it's gonna be a fun time. Myself, Eric Shields, Cope Wilson, hopefully Ira Grusovic will be there, and then sounds like the Wampus Wilsons will be in attendance, and doing their thing. So Matt and Rachel are also planning on coming down. So, and if you happen to be somewhere in the vicinity of Ira G and he needs a ride, maybe hit him up and let him know you'll give him a ride on down to Elko, so he can play his guitar and sing and have a good time. So that's all I'm gonna do for the for the promo on that. I'm got some butterflies, but it's gonna be a fun time. And anyway, for this episode, that's all I'm gonna go with. So if you haven't noticed, I'm kind of like puzzled by the world lately. Like it just it just gets crazier and crazier, it seems like. And maybe I'm just maybe this is what it happens when you get into like your late 30s, coming into 40s, and you're just like slowly moving into the old to like the old person status. And so then just everything about the world seems crazy to you because you don't understand it because you're too far removed from the young generation to understand any of what's going on. And I feel like I may be kind of at that point. And so I'm trying to account for that bias. Like the TikTok generation is I don't really understand, and my kids are young enough right now where I'm starting to kind of get it in some of the TV programming that they're watching and whatnot, but they're still young enough to where their identity is pretty much just based off of me and Ro. So that's they also think the world's kind of crazy too. So, but they don't know any better. And like I said, but just like slightly older than them, when they're starting to have personalities and find their own interests and stuff, like that shit I don't get. Like, and maybe that's just I don't think it's anything different about kids being removed from the older generation. It just I think I'm finally at that stage where I'm completely removed from that younger generation, and I don't get it. I don't get anything that's going on, and it seems it seems like it's just kind of there's that mixed with there actually is just a lot of crazy shit going on in the world, and but it seems like the whole world is just like in panic mode over everything, and maybe that's the social media effect of the overall social media effect is it just puts people in panic mode all the time, or crisis mode, or whatever it is, just like instantly it's like, we gotta fix this now. And and like either panic or outrage or crisis, it seems like it's I don't know. And it's funny because I'm listening to all this shit go down. I'm reading stories, and I'm doing a lot of it from the back of a horse tending to cattle. And just kind of shaking my head, I don't understand any of it. Like they're talking about how the climate is changing so fast, and if we don't get a hold of it now, it's like right away, like yesterday, we should have had it done, and getting off of fossil fuels. If we don't do that, we're all gonna burn up and die. But it seems like their proposals for us to do that and would be the consequence of that if we adopt all their proposals to get off of fossil fuels and whatnot. Then billions of people starve and die, but probably at a faster rate than than the earth than being burned up in the earth because of climate change. Because one thing we found out when a government centrally plans the agricultural system of their country, it eventually leads to famine, because and it's for different reasons. Like, doesn't matter what there's like a million different reasons that a centrally planned economy doesn't work, because there's a million different people in that economy. So the economy is just people making decisions about their life. Like, you know, what do I need? What do I want? How am I going to get it? And then you act upon those needs and wants accordingly, whether you trade with money, or you trade with labor, or you trade with, or you barter. It's all barter. It just depends on what you're bartering. And currency was initially used as and still is today, cash, coin, currency is used as a placeholder in the exchange of goods and services. Like that that's what currency is. And yeah, so to try to manage all these decisions that are being made at an individual level, from one central location never works, because that one central entity cannot decide what's best for an individual over there. And so, because to make things efficient initially, the centralized entity standardizes everything, so you don't have as much freedom. So you can only go within these bounds because we can measure within these bounds. If you stray out there, then we don't know what works. And and so rather than having have a long process to to make it where you make the best decision for an individual over here, no, you decide what the best decision as a whole is, and then that's the standard. And you have all these standardized, but most of the time those standards don't take into account all the individual idiosyncrasies of each individual location. So, like, say if the lefties get their way, and you just have the United States becomes a full-on Marxist totalitarian government. It seems a little closer, now than it did 10 years ago. It seems a lot closer now, but I think we're a little ways off from that yet. But let's say they, the globalists, the progressives, whoever the big boogeyman is, they win the military industrial complex. Whoever they win, and now we're a communist country now, and now the USDA is in charge of all agriculture, not to be like an assistance and like a food safety standard deal, but now they control like the literal land and the farms, because it's communist now. There's no private property. It's government owned. And so they have the same protocol. So they standardize all the tractors. So it'll be the United States of John Deere. And nobody but John Deere can work on that equipment. So, but it's universal throughout every farm. And then you have only a certain amount of tractors, certain certain models. So you get the big boys, which the out in the Great Plains they'll be using, and then you've got the the smaller stuff for the smaller farms, and but they don't really they try to standardize it so it makes it easier because you've got government ran you know tractor factories now, so they're trying to you know trying to standardize everything there too, so it's all interchangeable within their whole system. But yet they never take into account that, like, hey, this crop over here is grown over here for a certain reason. They're like, but no, we need more corn. But like, hey, they're like, we do a lot better with potatoes over here. But no, we need more corn because this is the standard we need to meet for the government and the people's government. And so then you have a bunch of people that don't know what they're talking about telling people that know what they're supposed to do, but they don't have a choice, and they're like, all right, you do this because that's what the government says. And yeah, and it's the people's land now. So well, that leads to idiots making stupid decisions, and a lot of times decisions made out of spite or just plain just ignorance and stupidity, and just it's always how bureaucracies work. The bigger the organization, like the worse it becomes. It becomes unmanageable, and well, then one thing leads to another, and a bad weather year wipes out the three products that you're making that it was dictated by the government, wipes out the crop, and well, you don't have anything else because you've not you've taken the decision of farming away from the farmers, and you've just made them peasants. And when people that live on the land, know the land, work the land, are making the decisions on on their part, they tend to make better decisions than some bureaucracy. But it's how the Holodomor came to be in Ukraine, where I don't know how many Ukrainians starved to death due to mismanagement, and also just evil shit from the Soviet Union. Those communists were, woof. They try to get rid of the religion first, because then you you only answer to the government. And I'm not big on religion, but I'm pretty sure there's a God out there. So, but it's easier for the communism to work if they're all atheists, because then they don't have quite the like the moral questions about taking actions, as say like, hey, we're just gonna go ahead and take all your stuff over here and keep you not all dead, but like just right above dead, because we can, like, and it's good for the greater good. This will be better, so like we're we're gonna take away your farms in Holland, the Netherlands. I'm not sure what the difference is between Holland and the Netherlands, but I know they're the same country, but I don't know why there's two names. Yeah, I don't know. They I was listening to Rogan the other day, and he had Adam Curry, who's kind of, I guess, kind of known as the godfather of podcast. It's fun. I've heard, not to go too far down a rabbit hole, but there's like, is it Rogan's not the godfather of podcasting. He's just the biggest guy. But Adam Curry like has the like he created like the podcast network that Apple used through iTunes and and later Apple Podcast and like the whole system like that we know as a podcast today was um kind of put together by Adam Curry, I think. I don't know. This is nerd shit, so you're not interested, but um anyway, he's somewhere on so I don't know like who's considered the actual like what the level of nerdery it is with podcast guys, but he's one of the big ones anyhow, and he's an interesting guy. I listen to his show every now and then. But he was talking about these farmer protests in the Netherlands, where like just because the EU says your emissions have to go down, and in particular agricultural emissions, which in the reporting I don't know exactly what all that means, but it's all it seems to be focused particularly on animal agriculture. Dairy's big over in the Netherlands and Holland. I wonder if they still wear clogs. The wooden shoes. Probably not. Seems like that was I don't know of anybody else that really is known for wooden shoes. Um, typically animal skin was more like that was kind of it. Still is really with rubber soles, unless you're wearing leather soled cowboy boots, leather soled shoes. Yeah, I don't know, wooden shoes. I don't get that one, but it was big in Holland, I guess. I wonder like, do they have like, do you have your going out wooden shoes, and then your shit kicker wooden shoes, your wooden shit kickers? Boy, those would be some heavy fuckers, wouldn't they? Some like you get some stovepipe wooden clogs. They weigh about 30 pounds a piece. You'd have some massive fucking legs, but it wouldn't work because you'd have to give yourself some room. Um, tuck you're obviously you're gonna shotgun your pants in those bad boys. Um, so you need some room, and also if your legs got fat, like your leg might your foot and leg just might get stuck in your wooden clog until you could. Man, you probably have to cut the sucker off, I would imagine. You could burn it, but boy, that'd be hot. It'd get a little toasty. Um, anyhow, Adam Curry was talking about these protests over in Holland, and he said it was like weeks that people over there protested, and like the farmers were blocking the highways and stuff, and then it just kind of went away, and people got bored, and they're like, "Hey, we kind of need to get to work or whatever." And it was funny. It was like they just kind of rolled over and like whatever, and kind of like they did when the Germans rolled through in both world wars, because yeah, like those countries, they just Belgium and Holland, they just like they're like, hey, we're neutral, and then everybody's like, cool, and then Germany's like, yeah, neutral-ish, right? Like, well, fuck your neutrality, and yeah, and they just like kind of then they're just occupied, and I don't understand that one. But he said he was saying that was kind of how it felt with with these farmer protests over there. We're like that now they're just gonna take their land and they'll get money for it. And he was speaking on this because I guess he used to live over there. And it's it's funny when you look at kind of how they're these, and it's always who's the they, and I look at the companies that benefit, and there's this big push for lab grown meat and like insect based protein. And I'm not opposed to the eating of insects. People have been eating bugs for a long time, since the beginning of time, really. But they also have shown that they tend to like animal flesh better than bugs. And anytime they reach a certain status of living, they quickly transition away from eating bugs and go to eating meat. So it's just kind of a common trend that yes, bugs are edible, and then if you're down to that dire of a situation, you will go ahead and eat it, but you'd rather not. All things considered. I don't care care to eat bugs. When a perfectly good burger, steak, chicken wing, even some weird meat, some weird shit, when you start eating, liver and liver and heart and all the organ stuff. It's not, I wouldn't say weird, but that I'll eat a lot of weird type of animal flesh before I dip down to the bug category, unless we're talking like sea bugs. Sea bugs are different, like shrimp and crab and lobster. Those are just big bugs, but they're different because you can you kind of got to go after those where like bugs, like you just put up a light and they'll fly into it. And and that's harvesting bugs in the wild. But I was talking before, like what we're gonna go down a ride here on what one of these like bug farms is gonna, these insect farms is gonna look like. And now that I kind of seeing it in my head, it makes a little more sense why you see places like or these companies like Tyson and JBS and these big corporations investing so much money into like the plant-based bullshit and now this lab grown meat and the insect stuff. So here's just a weird little video that I thought you guys like. It's kind of
this chicken breast, grown in a lab using real animal cells, could appear in U.S. restaurants as soon as 2023. It's made by a California-based company called Upside Foods. The cultivated chicken was deemed safe for human consumption in a landmark decision by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Well, it is meat, so it is chicken. It'll taste exactly as you would expect a chicken to taste.
Lab-grown meats derived from a small sample of cells collected from livestock, which is then fed nutrients, grown in enormous steel vessels called bioreactors, and processed into something that looks and tastes like a real cut of meat. Upside Foods CEO Uma Valetti explains.
Like I said, it's not a meat alternative. It's meat that's grown from real animal cells. So what we do is we take really high quality animal cells from, let's say, a cow or a pig or a chicken or a lobster, and we look for cells that can continue to grow outside the animal in a very robust and a healthy way. The part that's remarkable about it is we didn't have to raise and slaughter a chicken to get real chicken meat out of it.
Just one country, Singapore, has so far approved lab-grown meat for retail sale, but
So we didn't have to kill a chicken, but we just took some of their cells and then we put a bunch of goo on it, and then we put it in a vat, and then they had like the sprayer deal, and I mean, I think I'd just rather have the chicken, like I've slaughtered a few chicken in my day, and once growing up on a farm or ranch, or anybody that goes hunting, like you kind of get a respect. The first time you kill an animal, it's once you realize that, and if you accept this, well, this is how I'm going to get my food. This is how somebody gets our food to us eventually. Like it's an important thing to learn. They're like, yeah, this is part of life. The whole circle of life deal. I won't sing that song. I'm not gonna get monetized anyways, but I'll still get a copyright notification from Disney if I sing too much of the the circle of life from Lion King deal. But yeah, I'm okay with killing the chicken to put food on the plate. I mean, I'm way more okay with butchering the beef, because let's face it, beef is better. And but that being said, I don't mind a little yard bird now and then. And I would just rather have that as opposed to all this weird nerdy shit that you got going on here. That can you imagine like how many of these freaking vats that they're just pumping out chicken goo out of each and every one of them? How many of those you could fit in the Holcomb Tyson plant there, and then you don't have to worry about the lawsuits and the workman's comp, and because one of your employees got stomped by an angry steer because you didn't train him very well. And let's face it, all things going well, like everything should flow real smooth, and you don't have to have your employees come into real actual contact with those animals hardly at all. But shit happens when you work with animals. It just always does. And if you can eliminate that completely, like that's then all you have to do is worry about your employees falling into a vat, I guess. But that's that's an interesting little thought experiment there. And you're just like, huh, so you're just gonna just pump out a bunch of fake, or well, I guess it's not fake, I guess it is animal product somehow. It just that they can convince you as much as they can try that this is it's the real thing, man. No, it's fucking not. No, it's not. It's just not. It is not the same. We'll watch a little bit.
But the
more.
United States is poised to follow. Upside worked with the FDA for 4 years before receiving the agency's green light in November 2022. The company, hopes to bring its product to restaurants as soon as 2023 and to grocery stores by 2028. And it's not just Upside Foods. Another California cultivated meat company, Good Meat, has an application pending with the FDA. And two other companies, one based in the Netherlands called Moza Meat, and another from Israel, Believer Meats, say they're in discussions with the agency. Some famous chefs, like Argentine Francis Malman and Spaniard Jose Andres, have already signed up and plan to showcase the meats in their high-end eateries. But to reach its ultimate destination,
So this is just like any startup. They're getting the celebrities behind them. This is like the new Sam Bankman-Fried deal because let's see what the future obstacles are.
that's supermarket shelves, cultivated meat still faces big obstacles. 5 executives told Reuters that companies will have to attract more funding to scale up production in order to sell beef steaks and chicken breasts at an affordable price. The cultivated meat sector has so far raised just under $2 billion in investments globally. That's according to data collected by the Good Food Institute.
It's a premium product. It signifies upside to animal welfare, environment, and enormous opportunity for
It's a premium product because it signals. So this is how this is just typical elite, like Hollywood bullshit. Like we're gonna pay way more for shittier stuff because it signals that we care. And I don't want the guilt of knowing that I had killed an animal who, if hadn't been killed, would contribute to even more climate change. So it's like a real catch-22 what to do with that animal there. But I don't want the guilt of that thing dying on my conscience. So I'm going to eat this very, very real lab-created steak that is better for the environment, and I can feel good about myself when I go to bed, and I'm gonna convince myself that it's real. It's so real, and it even tastes like a steak. I cannot imagine that tastes good. Like they had all these people saying the same shit about the Beyond Burger. That is, I mean, it was like you won't even know the difference. And we tried it here on air. It's not good, the Beyond Burger. So like this shit that you made in the lab and without cloning an animal, like no, like you never had a living, breathing animal there. Then it's not meat. You can say we had cells, but no, but you didn't grow an animal out of those cells. You made some shit that you just popped from a tube on. No, it's not meat, dude. It's not meat.
health. So we think the initial pricing will be premium to organic. And with time, over the next 5 to 10 years, it'll come to conventional parity. And we also expect the price of conventional meat to continue to grow up significantly. It keeps going up. Cultivated meat price comes down, and there's a sweet spot in the next 5 to 10 years where we intersect, and we become more affordable than conventional meat.
For now, production is
Okay, so we're seeing all of this stainless steel tubing. I'm positive this is like heavily climate controlled, because it's like a lab setting where like, this guy's walking around with a hairnet and a lab coat, nitrile gloves, got booties over his shoes. You know, like the whole lab type setting. So it's going to be temperature controlled and probably humidity controlled. And that takes a lot of energy for a room with like vats that what are they called, bioreactors, um where you're just like growing cell cultures, essentially, like at an industrial scale. That takes so much energy. So like I don't know how much more energy it would take than a packing plant, but I can't see how that you're just cutting out the cattle like that. That's but there's a whole line of smaller economies that and markets. I shouldn't say economy, but there's like a whole little branch off economies that are markets that are that go along with the cattle trade, from beginning to end. And so not only are you getting rid of the cattle, but you're getting rid of all the markets that follow that animal throughout the life cycle. And I mean, I guess that's a really good way to cut down on emissions, because you just like did away with a whole sector of your economy. Like that's, I mean, doing away with something's a good way, to cut down on on carbon emissions, I suppose. But like, I don't know that it's a good thing. And you're you're getting rid of a whole sector of the economy, and you're replacing it with this lab grown meat shit, where your labor force is going to be a fraction of what it would be to the the life cycle of a cow. Like I said, there's a lot of moving parts that go from baby calf on the ground to a steak on your plate. There's a very, very complex set of systems, and um but if you listen to some of these supposed experts, like that's the kind of future they're talking about. We're like phasing out animal agriculture altogether due to carbon emissions or whatever. And you're just like, yeah, but these same people will tell you with a straight face that we need to send M1 Abrams tanks over to Ukraine, which are run off of some sort of jet fuel. Which is, last time I not real eco-friendly, like not climate friendly, not very green. It's like straight petroleum and iron and steel. Um, but we have to do that to save humanity. But we got to stop raising cows to save the planet. But we can send war machines that that consume an ungodly amount of fuel, fossil fuels. But shut up and eat your lab meat, buddy. Hey, it's a weird dystopian
Still limited.
novel.
Upside's facility in the city of Emeryville in California has the capacity to churn out 400,000 pounds of cultivated meat per year. That's a small fraction of the 106 billion pounds of conventional meat and poultry produced in the U.S. in 2021, according to a lobby group, the North American Meat Institute. Then there's also the ick factor to contend with. A study in 2022 published in the Journal of Environmental Psychology found that 35% of Journal of Environmental Psychology Meat Institute. Then there's
the ick factor. It looks like it was just they squirted it out of like a caulking tube into a little like mold, like a cookie cutter, and you're just, and yeah, and then they just molded it, and it's like weird looking Play-Doh.
There's also the ick factor to contend with. A study in 2022 published in the Journal of Environmental Psychology found that 35% of meat eaters and 55% of vegetarians would be too disgusted to try cultivated meat.
Even the
Cultivated meat
vegetarians.
companies will need to convince reluctant consumers to
Don't
give it a
want any part
go,
of it.
despite the initial high cost, likely by highlighting the fact that their products don't involve slaughtering animals. Another draw is that growing meat in a steel vessel instead of in a field could reduce the environmental impact from livestock, which are responsible for about 15% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions.
That's the
I think that's bullshit. I'm pretty sure that's bullshit. Almost positive that's bullshit. Like 80% comes from these like huge shipping containers, like the not containers, but like the barges and like the huge cargo ships that get sent all over the world. The oil tankers, like that's like 80% of the carbon emissions alone, and I'm pretty sure animal agriculture is less than 3%. I don't know, but 15% seems really high, and I'm calling bullshit.
the unmistakable pioneering advantage of this field, because we're offering the choice to continue to eat real meat without giving it up or trying to become a vegetarian or a vegan.
Gross.
This chicken.
Yeah. So then I did a search for insect farming, because that's also kind of the new thing, is protein alternative, is we're going to develop insect. And this is from studyfinds.org. Beetle burgers could soon reach mass production, helping to feed the world. Mixed with sugar, the beetles supposedly taste just like real meat. They could also become alternatives to sausage or chicken nuggets. I could see the lab grown meat substance. I could see that being used for say like chicken McNuggets, because that's essentially, but that's still real meat. It just gets cooked and then formed and pressed into the nugget shapes, and then then cooked again. And yeah, it's a lot of sausage making, like tastes good. You don't really want to see the whole process that goes into it, because it's kind of weird, it's kind of gross. You're working with meat, and it's a little different. The whole chicken nugget process is a little different than than just cutting off a steak. It's yeah, it's a little bit of an ugly process, but that's also kind of the whole food thing in general. Like, do you like to eat? Because I think you do. All right, well, things you have to do to be able to eat, or at least that other people have to do in order to put food in front of you, it's not always a glamorous process. In fact, most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's kind of an ugly process. Because no matter how you want to church it up, you're scrounging out for getting your next meal. It's always you're surviving till your next meal. Like that's there's just something to it. Just like, somebody's got to do this, and people are going to pay me money to do it. and it's just one step in the chain of getting food around. So it's not always it's not always pretty seeing how the chicken nuggets are made, but god damn it, they're not delicious. You know, even your most hardcore beef guy will let you know that McDonald's chicken nuggets are pretty damn good. Awful for you, I'm sure, but Beetle burgers could soon be helping to feed the world, according to new research. The creepy colors lava, better known as mealworms, could act as a meat alternative to alleviate alleviate hunger worldwide. The process uses a fraction of the land and water and emits a smaller carbon footprint in comparison of traditional farming. it's this sure reads like a dystopian novel that like Glenn Beck wrote back in the day, or you got the global elite circle of just weirdos that want to control everything. Like, well, if we just got rid of the farming aspect and we'll let that become a nature preserve because we like to see the elephants and the buffalo and the elk. We like to see them in our, in your pure forms. We don't want all these peasants to be able to do anything with that. But so we'll take their land and we'll make them go work in the bug factory. We'll call it a farm, but it's the bug factory. That's the real factory farming, because as long as you're dealing with an animal that has a fight or flight response and can do something about it, like that's kind of what I don't know enough about chicken farming but man, you ain't gonna get stomped out by a chicken. Maybe you get your eye pecked out by a surly rooster, but you ain't getting taken out by a chicken. If you do, you're a bitch. And even a hog will get you. Don't get me wrong there, but when you're talking horses and cattle, that's a whole different animal. It's a big animal, big fucking animal. So yeah, when you're dealing with them, there's always a chance that animal could get you. You take all. There's really, on paper, there is no reason for Tyson or Cargill or JBS Swift to, I guess they're just JBS. They even dropped the Swift in. I think they're just JBS. But anyway, all the big four packers, on paper, there's no reason for them not to just go full into this either lab grown cell cultures or the insect route, because then all you need is just a factory. You don't need a farm. They'll call it an insect farm, but you don't have anything outside of, like, they have vats. Let's see how here we go. Look at that. There's your mealworms. Let's see. To make this reality, a French biotech company, Yinsect, is planning a global network of insect farms, including nurseries and slaughterhouses. Oh, so they're different facilities. Huh. Wouldn't just like a big, like, steamroller, just a roller wheel, that'd probably do it. Just have a conveyor belt going underneath a roller wheel like that the slaughter process with a mealworm shouldn't be too complicated. The problem is how do you got to set the spacing on your rolls because you don't want them completely splashing. Like, and also, man, what do you feed a mealworm so it's not too like juicy, where it just kind of cracks open instead of just splattering everywhere. These are the things you got to think about when you're when you're running a bunch of mealworms through to feed the population their next bug burger. Okay, you got to think about these things. What is the most efficient way to kill a mealworm? And then are we worried about the humanity side of things, like the humane treatment of mealworms? I mean, how far do we go on this? A pilot plant has already been set up at Dole in Bourgogne, Franche, Comté, something. Franche. That's French. Fuck them. Unlike the livestock industry, where rearing is typically separate, the entire bug-based operation is under one roof. Okay. Full control of the chain of production. This gives us strengths in terms of quality, security, and safety. Benjamin Armenjon. Robot arms and automated conveyor belts transport stacks of red trays in every direction. They are filled with billions of Tenebrio molitor beetle larvae. The dried critters are more than so they just dry them, just blast them. They are more than 50% protein and rich in fiber and fats as well. They can be turned into protein powder, shakes, burgers, cereal bars, and even cooking oils at a fraction of environmental cost of traditional farming. For every 1 kilogram of protein, insect uses 98% less land and emits 40 times less carbon than beef. It also uses 40 times less water than pork production. Maybe until you're making, you're producing what, trillions at that point of beetle larvae to keep up with the demand. I mean, I'd rather just have the steak, man. I would rather have a really shitty steak. I would rather have some hamburger that's like right on the verge of being like, you might probably waited one day too long, but it's still kind of iffy. I'd take that over a bunch of bug powder goop that you shaped into a patty and call it meat. And I don't know. I think, like I said, outside of the sea bugs, I think you got to have a bone on you before I really want to eat you. Like there's got to be some bones in there to take the flesh off of. That's my kind of my category. Other than the sea bugs, the shrimp and the shellfish, because that's all they are. Is just they're big bugs that live under the sea. So I'll eat those, but something about them being under the water makes it different and okay. And also they're a lot bigger. Like how many mealworms does it take to make a quarter pounder? Is that what, like 3,000-4,000 probably? I don't know. Especially after they dry them down, then like shit, you're talking into the tens of thousands, I would think. But I don't know. I don't know how any of this works. I don't really care to know, but it's interesting to keep this in mind. But this one, I could see this stuff taking off in like the protein supplement. I've seen that around, and I looked at the I did some research. I never did end up buying it, but I was curious to see like what is the actual effect here, and like it was essentially the same thing as whey protein, which is, you know, milk based, versus a bunch of ground up crickets. And man, I'll take milk from a titty and that byproduct over ground up crickets. So I don't know. I just that's going to be one of those things you're going to have to force on people, because I don't see that happening willingly. People might talk a big game, but there ain't that many people going to go eat bugs when if they can afford something else, which might be the ultimate end game. So they can't afford anything else, and then they're just eating your bugs. Yeah. Let's see. The mealworms are fed byproducts from wheat processing mixed with sugar. The beetles supposedly taste just like real meat. The firm is experimenting with optimal conditions for mass production. Such as food, temperature, and humidity. So they're already like looking to scale up. And insect researchers are also analyzing nutritional content and the potential of using other insects. A bigger factory is opening in Amiens later this year. It will manufacture 200,000 tons of insect-based foods a year, making it the world's biggest insect farm. So 200,000 tons. That's a what is that? That's 200. Anyway, that's a pretty good amount, but drop in the bucket of what you're gonna need. And honestly, like, I don't know if anybody knows what the ultimate cost of scaling up, like how much energy are these fuckers gonna burn in this just insect laboratory. What a weird. It's a weird one. But like I said, if you look at it from the aspect of the meat packing industry, you don't have to deal with a live animal. You don't have to deal with a dead animal. You don't have to deal with animals at all. There is zero chance that one of these mealworms is going to attack an employee on the kill floor. It's just not physically possible. So you don't have to worry about that. You can fry these little bastards up, grind them up, put them into a paste or tube or whatever, and make it into a shape of anything that you want. And now you just got to get people to eat it. So that's the one catch of why they're not just going all in, these, the big Ford Packers. That's probably the one reason they're not. There's still some of the old school guys. They're like, well, I sure like my meat, but when you're talking, doing billions of dollars a year and not having to deal with animals at all, I mean, if you're that CEO, that sounds pretty enticing, don't it? And you can just like convert your former kill plants into bug growing or lab meat like substance growing machines. you can get rid of so much of your labor force because there's not somebody like boning out a carcass on the floor because there's no carcass to bone out. It's a fucking worm, dude. We're gonna run them right through this little roll over here, and it's just gonna be just like all day long, just like stepping on bugs, just. Except you're doing that at an industrial level, so it probably sounds like a gay A10 warthog, you know, the except it'd just be like gay or somehow. I'm not gonna attempt to try to make that noise, but yeah, and all the meanwhile that little mealworm never had to go more than like 100 feet from where it was born and raised. I wonder how long it takes to couple days maybe to grow a mealworm. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I want to know. Yeah, I do. I would if there was one of these to open up, I would want to go look. I would want to gawk and see like, what are you goofy fuckers doing? It's like, which one of your bosses came over and during, Operation Paperclip from the Nazis? Because this seems like the way they dial up these products, like that seems like some weird kind of like Nazi science shit. I'm not saying it has to do anything with politics. It's just like those type of scientists that the Nazis had. Seems like they got seems like something like that when you're tweaking all these, like how do we make the bugs more palatable? Well, if you're already at the point where you can do it, now you're just trying to sell people on it. Then I don't know. It just, like I say, it just seems a lot like some weird science some novel about weird Nazi scientists and doctors creating something awful. That's what this whole like insect-based agriculture and lab-grown meats. That's the feeling I get to it. It's like we're living in a weird science fiction movie, and like a really gay one too, like really really weirdly gay. It's kind of funny when you tie like all the connections of like the rise of the trans movement, and you start to look into some like on the transitioning side of shit, and that you hear a lot about the puberty blockers and whatnot, but like one thing I've not heard many people bring up, or at least not a lot, is the fact that like big pharma used to be the boogeyman on the big on the left wing side. Big pharma, like they make all those hormone drugs for the kids that transition, whatever, and you're kind of just on those hormones for life, I think. And I could be talking out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure that's a lifelong commitment, unless you detransition, and who knows what the fuck that entails. But anyhow, that's a solid customer on on the dole for whatever, pick your big pharmaceutical corporation that makes that particular hormone. Well, got another one, Bill. Got him for life. Got this one at 14. Holy shit, man. I bet I can get 12 next week. 12-year-old. I bet we do it. I don't know if those are the conversations that are being had, but sure kind of feels like it. And, yeah, it's weird. Corporations they're a weird thing, man. And these, sound like a freaking Tommy Chong there. Weird thing, man. Yeah. And then these people are like, oh my God, we got all these problems coming now, and we gotta change the way the whole world works so we avoid it. Now we gotta eat bugs. Like, I think I'll eat the steak, man. At the end of the day, I'll just go ahead and grow me a cow. For real, a cow that can run me over and jump the fence or whatever. Throw a calf that dies a couple days later, and that whole deal. Like, I'd rather have that whole process and eat a good steak than deal with these weird scientists and corporations and their goop from a vat or paste from a bunch of. I would like to see the roller, though, the kill floor of the mealworms. Like, I kind of want to see the mechanics behind that. But outside of that, I want no part of it. I'll take the steak. And make sure you go like and subscribe, all the stuff at Burnin Daylight. No, at Move Your Ass on Instagram. That's kind of my main one. At Puncherific on Twitter. I don't do a whole lot over there. I mean, I try. I shit talk over there, but probably not anything you guys be interested in. Instagram's the main one. Facebook, if they ever let me do anything with it, probably not, but it's there. It's kind of nice to have. Can't do much with it, but it's there. YouTube, Rumble, all the shits. I'm everywhere. Go search either my name, Matt McKinley, or Burnin Daylight. Like, rate, review. Reviews, I guess, help. I don't know. Share it with your friends, though, if you like the show. I'd appreciate it. Come see us in Elko this weekend, 3rd and 4th, at the Stage Door. And, yeah, go do all the other stuff. Hit me up if you want to get in on the raffle. It's a really cool bit. It's a nice head stall, and it all goes to a good cause. So, thanks for tuning in, bearing with me through this my crabby attitude this winter, but it'll be better come spring, and until then, we'll make it just as fun as we can. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a good week, and move your ass. We're Burnin Daylight.
Your eyes up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. We'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Burning daylight. Well, life is just a gather, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right.